Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today is a book review, and I'm going to talk about a book that has been so hyped on booktube and bookstagram, and what else is there? Booktube, bookstagram, book blogs, book everywhere. I've seen it in bookstores and on Twitter. I've seen it everywhere. So I was really excited to read this book, and you know, I gave it a high rating, and it was good. But I'm kind of confused a little bit about the hype. So I'm going to get into this book review. And the book is The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. And it says it's part one of The Devouring Grey, which is apparently going to be a series or a duology or trilogy. At the end of it, it leaves it totally open-ended for it to be part of a series. And I think she is working on the next book in this. It has to be. It doesn't tie up at the end. So, I mean, it ties up enough for this book, but it doesn't tie up enough. And this is going to be a spoiler-free video, except for, I mean, it doesn't end like a cliffhanger, like if you've read like the Truly Devious trilogy or series, but it like leaves some things at the end that you're like, oh, so what's next? What's going to happen next? Okay. So let me tell you how I found this book. I was on Twitter and I saw people talking about this book left and right. They were like, you have to read this book. This is the best book of 2019, on and on and on. Okay. And a lot of people were comparing it to Maureen Johnson's The Truly Devious series. So I thought, well, I loved that. And I loved the Truly Devious, which was book one. And I loved The Vanishing Stair, which was book two. And I cannot wait till book three. I wasn't disappointed by either one of those books. I loved them. So I was really, really excited. Let me read you what this book is about so you guys know a little bit more. On the edge of town, a beast haunts the woods, trapped in the gray. Its bonds loosening. Uprooted from the city, Violet Saunders doesn't have much hope of fitting in at her new school in Four Paths, a town almost buried in the woodlands of rural New York. The fact that she's descended from one of the town's founders doesn't help much either. Her new neighbors treat her with distant respect and something way like fear. When she meets Justin, May, Isaac, and Harper, all children of founder families, and sees the otherworldly destruction that can wreak, she starts to wonder if the townsfolk are right to be afraid. When bodies start to appear in the woods, the locals become downright hostile. Can the teenagers solve the mystery of Four Paths and their own part in it before another calamity strikes? I know, B. Radley, my dog is down here. He's like, oh. And that was kind of my thoughts about the book review, or about the book. Was, meh, it was okay. I gave it like, I put on Goodreads a 4-star. I probably would give it like a 4.2. I thought it was really, really well done. But for me, it wasn't a standout next to tons of other books. Like, I mean, I have read better young adult fantasy books. And so next to them, I just kind of was like, I'm confused as to why everybody is going on and on and on about this book. Yes, it's good. It was an enjoyable read. I found myself very bored at times of it. There were the Audible version is okay. I will tell you, I don't think it would make a difference if you listen to the audio version whether reading it. The only thing that's different is they sing the song, the founder song in it, and when they sing it, it's like dun 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 dun. But anyway, that got kind of on my nerves on the audio version of it. But other than that, I don't think the audio versus the physical form would make much of a difference. I don't know. So, you know, when I started reading this, I was like, I feel like here were some of my criticisms about it, okay? I felt like it was kind of picked from several different, like, made-for-TV movies I had seen through the years. And I probably am a little bit older than a lot of people that are reading this book, but it very closely reminded me of this movie that I watched, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's with Sarah Chalke that was in Roseanne on Scrubs, and it was called, like, We Know Who You Are, or something like that, and she and her mom moved from California to Salem, and she is like, wears all black and reads tarot cards, and there's like these founders family there, and they're all like the ones that killed the witch. It's very similar to this book, very, very similar. And it almost kind of seemed to me like a skeleton to this. There were some other movies I had seen that were very similar to this too, made-for-TV movies that come around to Halloween time. It reminded me of some other books that I had read. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I feel like when I was reading it, I was like, I've read this story before. Like, this is not a truly original story. So, I don't know. Like, and I think that's what's always disappointing for me. Had I not seen all the hype about it, I think I would have enjoyed the book almost a little bit more, if that makes sense. The other thing for me is that a lot of people are talking about the sexuality in this book and the people's identification of sexuality and how well done it is in this book. Okay, for me in 2019, and this is just my opinion, okay? It almost feels to me like we have to write diversity into every book, okay? Instead of it happening naturally, it almost felt forced to me in this book. Like, it felt like there were several characters that identified as bisexual. Like, several characters, you guys. I mean, I think there were 3 characters in the book that identify as bisexual, 4 characters that identify as bisexual. And it was really confusing to me, and I didn't really see the purpose of it other than it just being for the fact that they were bisexual and let's put this into the book. So it didn't really, to me, add anything to the characterization of it. So then, as a person that identifies as part of the LGBTQIA+ community, I'm thinking to myself, well then what was the point of this? Like, why did you put that in there, you know? Like, I mean, with one character, it really does play out. I will say that. Well, I guess 2 of them, but not really through the duration of the book. I don't know. It seemed very juvenile, the way that it was done. I didn't love it. You know, I'm not somebody, and this is just like, again, like I say, my personal opinion, I'm not somebody that seeks out identification in books. Yes, it's nice, but I feel like there's so much of it in literature out there now that we have really good representation in books. There's a lot of diverse voices out there. There's a lot of own voices that just to make a character bisexual for the reason of, I don't know, identification in a book, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't play out well enough into the book. The reasons why it played out, other than, I would say, one pairing, it could have been completely different. The things could have been explained in a different way. So it didn't have to be that way, and then it seemed forced to me. It really felt forced to me. Especially with one character at the very beginning when it, like, is stated, it just was like, ooh, okay, like, why are we doing this right now, you know? And it's got to be difficult to be writing about this kind of stuff in 2019, 2018, because everybody's looking for it. Everybody's looking for what's problematic. Everybody's looking, you know, for what. I didn't think it was problematic. I didn't think it was done in a poor manner. I thought it was done respectfully. I just felt it felt forced to me. That was my only criticism about it, you know? The other thing that I disliked about the book was that I felt like it dragged on to kind of make it a little bit longer. It wasn't a super long book. I do not know how long the physical copy was. I guess I could look it up right here. The physical copy, it says 368 pages. It truly could have been 268 pages. I felt like a lot of it was too much, and it kind of flipped back and forth. This was a thing that, ask me in 3 days, I might feel differently about this. I don't know if you guys are ever like that with a book. Like, you love this part of a book, and then 3 days later you hate it, or you hate this part of a book, and 3 days later you love it. One of the things for me was that it was kind of this town that had been, like, stopped in time. Like, there was aspects of it that reminded me kind of the movie The Village, and it would, like, jump back and forth between, like, what felt current and what felt, like, old-timey to me. Is that fantasy? Because I don't enjoy that. And if you watch my channel regularly, you know I don't love a lot of fantasy. But it wasn't, like, when we talk about world building, I'm kind of, like, getting into the whole idea of world building. Like, I really liked the Leigh Bardugo book. I had to stop the camera. Boo Radley ran into the ring light. Anyway, you know, like with Six of Crows, when I read that, like I said, I'm not huge into fantasy. I'm kind of like getting used to it, but like I really like the world building of fantasy. This wasn't that. Like it didn't feel like that to me. Could it be called? You know, like I loved in Six of Crows, and that's the only Leigh Bardugo book I've read. I loved that she like created this world that was kind of like old-timey, but at the same time felt modern, felt futuristic, but kind of like worn down. It felt kind of Blade Runner-ish to me a little bit without like all the technology, if that makes sense. But this was different. This was like a town isolated out in the middle of nowhere in a town, like in time. But like the other thing I didn't understand this, okay? True story. Like I really didn't understand this. And this is not going to ruin it for anybody that reads this. Can somebody explain to me why these townspeople, which they refer to them as townspeople, like I don't know, like if I just don't refer to people that live in Indianapolis where I live as townspeople. I just don't, you know, maybe in a smaller town, I guess. I don't know, the town. I haven't heard that term in a while. It's kind of an old-timey term, you know? But can somebody explain to me why all these people stay in this town. Like, they don't have to, right? Like, that's what I don't understand. So, like, I don't understand, like, I'm not talking about the people that do. I'm talking about the people that don't. Like, why would you stay in this town? I would never stay in that town. I would leave. I would go away. I would up and move. And that's what it is for me. It's like, okay, that's when you're a reader and you're, like, really getting into it. And then all of a sudden you're like, does this come in? Like, reality checks in and you're like, wait a second. Why has Susie Smith stayed in this town, okay? And it's 2019. She's a carpenter? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? And I kind of was like, okay, like talking to the writer, I'm kind of like, if you wanted to write a book about the 1800s, write a book about the 1800s. If you want to write a book about modern time, write a book about modern time. But it seemed to go back and forth for me. And I just was very, like, it doesn't in reality. It's all the same time. And parts of it I thought were done well. Parts of it I didn't. There were some aspects of it that I loved. There, like the magic that the people have in there, I thought was very, very interesting. I thought it was very creative and original. It's things I haven't seen in other books, but I haven't read a lot of fantasy, so that would be, you know, original to me. And I liked how it played out. Like, I liked the purpose of why they had these, like, magical skills. Like, that made, I thought, a lot of sense. I thought it was well done. The characters were real enjoyable to read. Well, most of them. I mean, some of them I loved, some of them I didn't. Some of them I thought were boring. Some of them I thought were stereotypes. And kind of cliched. There was a lot of cliche to me in this book. So I guess, I don't know, like, I was very confused about the hype of this book. Like I said, it was good. It was an enjoyable read. Like, if anybody said, should I read The Devouring Grey, I'd say, like, do you like young adult fantasy? And if they said yes, I said, yeah, sure, give it a try. It's not a bad book. Is it a 5-star that everybody's raving about? No, I don't understand that. I really don't, okay? And I checked myself today. Like, I slept on it. I started my next book last night. I slept on it, and I woke up today, and I was like, do you still feel the same way? I still felt the same way. I was like, there are better books out there, you know? And so, I don't know, like, for me, it was, I guess, kind of different from what's out there right now. Maybe, like I said, I don't read a lot of fantasy. But for me, it felt kind of just plain. It felt very, the characters didn't have huge depth to me. They were enjoyable, but they didn't have huge depth to me. You know, a lot of, like, okay, here's the thing. I read that book, what's the book? About all the kids that are in the school. I read it earlier this year or the end of last year, I can't remember. Shoot, you know, where the kid dies in the classroom and then they have to all figure out who it is. It doesn't matter. But anyway, you know, and, like, I loved that book. And one of the criticisms that people gave it was, like, the characters didn't have any depth. I thought those characters had tons of depth, okay? And I would read a series about them. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. Like, those characters have depth. Like, you really, like, know them. You know, to me, okay, a character that has a dead relative or long-lost love, like, those are such cliched things to me that to just praise a book for that, like, and I don't know. I just didn't get it, okay? I just didn't understand it. To me, it was no 5-star. I almost kind of, like, think I gave it, I probably, in all honesty, would probably give it, like, a 3.8, 3.7, but I think I gave it a higher rating because so many people had talked about it, and I was like, peer pressure? Stop peer pressuring me. Like, is there something about this book that I missed? So anyway, I don't know. If you guys loved this book, put it in the comment section below. If you disliked this book or it just was meh, as RuPaul said, let me know in the comment section below. And, you know, hey, listen, one of the things I love about BookTube is that we can all have our opinions and still get along. So please put them down below. Please be, bees knees. Please be kind and caring to each other. We don't have to rip each other apart about our opinions. Anyway, I love you guys, and I've got an exciting video for tomorrow, so come back and check that out. See you guys then. Bye.